cool, still a b-boy. Too bold for the school, still a b-boy. East coast to the west, b-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a b-boy.
This week we head to the East Coast, Maryland to be exact. We're talking to a horrorcore MC who's been putting it down for a while. Many projects under his belt. This week, welcome Raven Hunter. What is up, man?
What's up, boss? How you doing?
So what are some of your earliest memories of hearing hip hop?
All right. So the first rap tape I ever found was just in a box full of my sister's tapes, my older sister. It was Two Live Crew, as nasty as they want to be. I was like 10 years old.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it piqued my interest. And then of course there was like Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer, Salt and Pepper, Queen Latifah. I got into pretty early. But really the first tape that grabbed me was Easy Does It. That pulled me into rap so hard. It made me want to be a rapper.
So you find hip hop, you're bumping that Easy Does It, that Nasty as They Want to Be. Who are some of your favorite MCs as a kid?
Eric B. and Rakim. It was kind of one of the first MCs I can think of lyrically that like, holy shit, you know what I mean? I was like 11 and this is blowing my mind, you know. I got into Wu-Tang very early in their career, basically when the first album dropped.
Right.
I'm from the East Coast, so it was a lot more accessible. You know, but I think my favorite MCs back then, Havoc the Rhyme Son from SEC. He's not really an MC, but he's not lyrical, but you know what I mean? But
Right.
I love Havoc and Prodigy. And Rakim, EPMD, you know. Beastie Boys, of course, you got to give some love to.
Yeah, South Central Cartel does not get talked about enough. I mean,
oh, definitely.
When people talk about the West Coast, they should be talking about SCC.
Yeah, whole GWK, the whole label was amazing.
So at what point did you said the Easy Does It album is what you made you want to start rapping yourself? What age were you starting to write and rhyming yourself, trying it out?
11. I started when I was 11 years old. Yeah, I was like late 92, early 93. Me and Creepy X, my brother, everybody knows Creepy. We met when we were 4. We're not blood brothers, but we've known each other for 36 years plus, you know what I mean? But when we changed schools, we lost track because we were kids. It was 93, late 92, early 93, when he happened to just be going down my street on a bike. Like, I'm pretty sure he lived there. And then it was, you know, on. He had already started, like he had an Naughty by Nature tape that had an instrumental on it. And that's how, you know, he had already made up the idea. I think he was going by the Riddler. And I came out as the Smoker. My first tape was called Smoke with the Smoker, which is ridiculous. We used to just push 2 boomboxes together and play an instrumental and then record on the other and just yell into it. That's how we did tapes for years.
I fucking love that. That is exactly what I did in my room.
Really?
Yeah,
yeah.
2 boom boxes. You rap into this speaker and play the instrumental on this one into that speaker.
Yep, that's it.
Push Another thing I would do is take like the last 30 seconds of a beat, like Too Short always let the beats ride.
Loop
and just loop, 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 loop.
Yep.
Hell yeah, that's what I was doing in my room at the same time. That's crazy.
I remember Young Bleed came out with an album in the late 90s called My Balls on My Word, and there was a song that sampled Knight Rider that had a like 2-minute loop. We made a shit ton of beats out of that. Yeah.
So when do you start working on your first serious project? Not to Smoke the Smoker, when you're like, all right, I'm taking this serious. What was your first project that was serious?
Honestly, man, I started in 1993, and I never even really found my voice until like 2002. It was just us rapping. You know, we would write other people's lyrics down from like Master P and then just like record over their own beat with their lyrics type shit, you know, messing around a lot. It went until the mp3.com days, and I started getting a lot of love on horrorcore.com. Is when really I kind of started you know, taking it a little more serious. My first real project I ever put money into was Raven Hunter The Return from 2005 on Cutthroat Productions. It was the first time I'd ever bought all beats. They were exclusives. Jay Reno made like half the album. Comatose made a bunch of beats. And that was the first project. I recorded 48 or 50 songs for that. It became a trilogy that I ended up putting out for free when CTP closed down. I just put it all on horrorcore.com and kind of I reissued it later on 3SC when we actually started selling the CDs. But initially, it was just 3 full CDs of some of my best shit I've ever done. I just gave away.
I like to talk about people who were there before or doing this before internet really blew up. You know, the younger generation have no idea. You know, I put out my first professional album in 96. You know, the
Nice.
internet existed, but I didn't go on the internet, you know.
Right.
So you had to physically hand someone your music for them to listen to it. Kind of go over, you know, the transition from doing physical copies to all of a sudden we got this new thing where someone in Singapore can hear my song I made this morning
Right. Immediately.
immediately.
Yeah,
It's
no,
crazy.
we used to burn the CDs and I forget the program, Media Face or something. We would print out little case covers like I think Bedlam and Prozac and them were doing the same shit. Put a label on top of the CD and we would hand them out or sell them like that for the longest time, really.
Mhm.
I still recorded on tape until like late 2001. I think we finally started on a PC.
What drew you to the darker side of hip hop? I mean, yeah, obviously you said Rakim, you said South Central Cartel, so obviously you're a fan of all forms of hip hop because they're about as
Yeah.
different as it gets. But when it came to your rhymes, what do you think really drew you to, you know, the darker side?
It probably started with the Ghetto Boys. I got really into the Ghetto Boys back when Willie D before he left, you know, the
Mhm.
original lineup.
Right.
And they, you know, Chucky and all that was Bushwick Bill Solo had that shit on. It was horrorcore before anybody even really knew what it
Absolutely.
was, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, and then, you know, Big L had a lot of like pushing the boundaries types of lyrics too when he flowed. And Big L's one of my favorite rappers of all time. He died way too early in his life in his career.
Yep.
Um, I think Eazy-E's death is the only one that hit me harder than Big L's probably. But Gravediggers really solidified it because I was a huge Wu-Tang, you know, fan, and RZA, who was just talking about gutting people and shit. And I don't know,
Right.
something different. And obviously that ended up, I found Esham's Closed Casket, which led into Great Malenko when me and Jay got into ICP was when
Mhm.
Great Malenko would drop because that's when everybody could find their music. I never really heard of ICP prior to that, but then they had this whole back catalog of doing the same type of shit. So it just kind of quickly started going into our music, you know. I've always considered myself more of like a street rapper that tells horror stories, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I've never really embraced the word horrorcore for a lot of reasons, but I would say I'm more like I grew up on gangster rap and that's, you know, they almost go hand in hand with some of the content, you know what I mean?
You know what's crazy? This is kind of a little side off, but you know, you mentioned ICP and Malenko. You know, so I'm from Wisconsin and we traveled to Detroit a lot. So this is the early 90s. So
Okay.
I was up on ICP. I think the first ICP I heard was Beverly Kills, and I had
Nice.
the booming words from Hell tape and all that. So I always felt like, you know, I was aware of them, but like you said, when Malenko came, it was weird when I left the area and it's like, wait, there's someone with an ICP shirt on. How the fuck do they
Right.
know who that is? It was the weirdest
Right.
shit because it was just such a local thing. And it blew my mind when I would see kids with ICP shirts on in Texas or some shit like that.
Right.
Talk about the Maryland hip hop scene.
Yeah, we had Ruthless Rob and you know Isolated Beans, Fatty Garcia, and everybody.
Mhm.
A lot of Baltimore cats, Cryptid, and a lot of people from that area. Salisbury, that's my home. It's a couple hours away from Baltimore.
Okay.
Um, it's a more contained scene. There's a lot of young up and comers because now everybody raps. You know what I mean? Growing up around here, there was like really nobody else but me and Jay, me and Creepy. But there's a lot of cats like D Scanless is dope as hell. He's from Baltimore. He lives in the Salisbury area. You got D Millie, Rumor Stackability. There's a lot of cool cats that from the area that are trying to come up and you know they're
Mhm.
starting to push some numbers on Spotify and shit. So it's cool.
So you're now with Fifth Power Entertainment. Talk about how that came together. You know, kind of talk about that situation.
So Bracco hit me up. We were, you know, we just started kind of talking through Facebook. I think it was. This was like a while back, we've probably been friends since 2010, 2011, but really in 2015, I was on Butcher Beat Productions. It was kind of starting to close up. A lot of people were leaving and stuff. That was Ruckus's little side label, you know,
Mhm.
Ruckus and Cutthroats, which I love those dudes, you know. Um, and I was like, well, I could do a track, you know, maybe try to do a little something with Brack. I got him on one of the albums. And then I was working on an album called Darkness Incarnate. It was supposed to come out on a label called Philosophy Entertainment that Fatty Garcia was opening. And it just never really got off the ground. And Brack was just like immediately like, anything you want, man, we can do this, you know? And shit, we did an album together not long after called Bringing the Doom. And I've been, you know, I'm kind of like his right hand. Like that's my man, that's my brother. Brecco's my people for sure.
I'm glad you talked about the Bringing the Doom project, because I was racking my brain trying to remember the title, because I was going through your, you know, your discography, and I really liked that one with you two. That was a
Thank
good
you.
record. That was a really good
Thank
record.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you. A lot of those songs were kind of Frankenstein last minute of stuff that one or the other was working on. But like Lords of the Dead was the song we did specifically for. There was a bunch we did specifically for. My favorite record on there is The Sickest. I think that chorus is so fucking hype. I love The Sickest.
So you mentioned a bunch of MCs that you've gotten to work with. Who are your favorite one or two to collaborate with?
Man, that's tough, because like, do I include my own people and my camp of people? You know,
Whoever you want.
because I mean, obviously, Creepy X, we've done so much music since we started together. You know, we've done Camp Blood albums together. I've pulled him out of retirement multiple times, and I love making music with my brother. You know what I mean? It just takes me back to when we started, and it was fun, and it didn't feel like a job. Because sometimes it starts to feel like a job, and you lose some of that love. But I love music so much, I don't let that stop me. You know what I mean? Bracco and Chamber, we do a lot of music together. Me and Chamber click really well. Me and Bracco have a really complementary style. Yeah, outside of my camp, I don't want to sound weird. Like I listen to other people's music, obviously. But I've done tracks with Swoop. You know, obviously Cryptic, Jay Reno, Class. I've been lucky enough to do a lot of really cool collabs. I did a song with Cap One at Simpson Heights that'll always stand out. You know, but then I got some collabs on this new record that I'm really excited about.
Crazy show memories. Do you have one or two memories of a live show that just something bananas happened at?
I mean, I've been present at quite a few shows in cities, you know, where fights break out, things like that. And one of the craziest things that ever happened to us was kind of fucked up. It was at an ICP show. There was misdirection between our people and the sound guy, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're not going on for another, 20 minutes." So we're all just standing there by the side of the stage, and then ICP's people are blowing up about why the fuck is the stage dark? Like, and we lost some 5 minutes off our set or something because of that. That was one of the most fucked up things, you know. But I've had really cool shit. ICP shows seem to be where I have the most fun. I've done a lot of Tech N9NE shows. Those are great shows too. A lot of good energy. But Juggalos usually tend to show quite a bit of love, especially, cleaning out the merch table and getting our autographs. And, you just feel appreciated at those types of shows. You know what I mean?
So now I'm going to go to the basic hip hop questions, the hip hop shop questions. And I know you're a hip hop head, so I'm excited to talk about it. If you were forced to only listen to one MC the rest of your life, who would that be?
I would probably say Ghetto Boys, because except for like 2 albums, their whole group catalog is 100%, like, it's solid. The last 2 albums started falling apart a little bit because of inner turmoil anyway, Right. But then you got Scarface. The Diary is one of the best CDs ever recorded. It'd be hard not to go with Ghetto Boys.
So you're getting put on a deserted island and you can only bring 5 albums with you. What are those 5 albums?
And I've heard you ask these questions to a lot of people, and for some reason I thought I'd be prepared. South Central Cartel and Gats We Trust.
Nice.
Bone Thugs and Harmony, 1999 Eternal. Wu-Tang Enter the 36 Chambers. Redman, What the Album. And probably Ice Cube Death Certificate. I think that would probably be my 5.
All classics. 5 micers. We'll move on to this or that. I'm gonna give you 2, sometimes 3 options. You're picking the better option.
Choice is yours. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that.
So we're starting with albums.
Okay.
And we're going to Detroit. Esham, Kill the Fetus or Closed Casket?
Man, that's double barrel of some of his freshest shit right there on 2 discs. But Closed Casket was the first Esham album I ever bought. And from The Wicked Shit'll Never Die, the opening all the way through, it's a solid album. Not to take a thing away from Kill the Fetus, but yeah, I would definitely have to go Closed Casket.
You know, Kill the Fetus is my personal favorite Esham one, but I completely understand the argument people make that Closed Casket is better because the production was more solid and it's pretty much just as dope. So either
He's just
one,
he's aggressive on every damn song on that whole album.
right?
So,
Tech Nine, Angelic or Absolute Power?
Absolute Power. But that's around the time I got into Tech. I bought Angelic right after, I think I'm a Slacker is probably the first song I ever heard from Tech.
Oh, yeah.
And for that reason, that I listened to that album on repeat for that whole summer. Like that was all I listened to. You know what I mean?
Ghetto Boys, We Can't Be Stopped or Scarface, The Diary?
That's super not fair. I already said The Diary is one of the best CDs
Yeah.
ever recorded. But We Can't Be Stopped is a better record, mainly just because it's all three of them kind of at their best together. They melded perfectly. And as much as The Diary is probably the right answer, I'd probably say We Can't Be Stopped. But I think The Resurrection is Ghetto Boy's best album.
We got Dub C, Curb Serving or The Shadiest One?
Curb Serving, I'd say easily. That's had some of my favorite work from him, period.
Yeah, I think that's him in his prime.
Yeah.
Esham, Dead Flowers or Dice, The Neighborhood Shit Talker?
Dice. Dice is one of the most underrated rappers I probably ever. I love Dice. I like just about everything I've ever heard Dice put out.
Yeah.
His interview was awesome. I listened to that with y'all. Yeah, I love The Neighborhood Shit Talker is probably one of my favorite albums from that era, that time frame.
I think it's a top 3 real life album ever put out.
Easily.
Shit
They
Talker.
come in close to Closed Casket. Like it's
Mhm.
that good.
Now we're doing West Coast EPs. Easy E, 5150, Home for the Sick or MC Ren, Kiss My Black Ass?
Kiss My Black Ass. It was more entertaining.
Yeah.
If you had said
Behind the
Easy,
scenes.
it's on, if it was it's on, it probably would have been easy.
Yeah.
But for this one, yeah, Behind the Scenes alone is great. That I just love that album.
Yeah, that is a good album. So now take that Ren, Kiss My Black Ass, and put it up against 100 Miles and Running.
I'd probably still pick Ren, to be honest.
It's a more solid project.
Yeah, it's more cohesive.
We're back in Detroit and Flint. Project Born, Born Dead EP or Mastermind Liquid Drano EP?
Project Born. But Mr. Nitty, I fucking love. I'm hoping to get him on an upcoming project. I love Nitty. I love Pint. I love all of them. Don't get me wrong.
So underrated, Project Born.
100%. But from the first verse I ever heard Nitty on Graveyard with ICP, Forgotten Freshness, that was the first time I got to hear him.
Mm-hmm.
I had to hunt down Born Dead right after that. Love the album. But from Nitty's first verse, that tick to the motherfucking top, like that whole verse, man, like it pulled me. Like he became one of my favorite rappers, and I'd only heard like 4 songs from him. It was crazy.
He's got such a distinct voice. I mean, it's him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and a big, shortly after I interviewed him, Half Pint passed away. So big rest in peace to him. And
big rest in peace.
Yeah. Now we're going West Coast producers. You got 3 choices: DJ Quick, Ant Banks, or EA Ski.
I'm gonna probably go with DJ Quick. I loved Quick. He had a very smooth production sound. It was very like early 90s West Coast,
Very
Not all of it
distinct,
was overly gangsta, but you could definitely tell when Quick had his name on something.
East Coast version of this: DJ Premier, Pete Rock, or RZA.
Oh, Premier is probably one of the best producers of all time. But RZA put out so many bangers with so many woo artists that were just hit after hit after hit. Like for like 3 years, there was something at the top of the charts from a Wu-Tang member, and most of them were RZA's beats, Man, but Premier, I'd probably have to go for Premier just because he's definitely got to be one of the top producers of all time.
I agree. Him, Dre, maybe,
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
upper echelon, top
Yep.
top floor for sure.
That's why I didn't put Dre in the West Coast one because
Yeah, it would
everyone
have
would
been
pick
too
Dre.
easy, you know.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're doing West Coast hood movies. Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society.
Menace to Society.
Go,
From the
dog.
opening with Sam Jackson all the way to the end with Trey Dine. Like it's just Old Dog was one of the best hood characters of all time anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lorenz
And,
Tate played that shit just too
perfect.
good, you know.
You believed him, right? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You completely believed him. I will do the East Coast version. Juice or New Jack City?
I'm actually probably gonna say Juice. It's like my favorite Pac movie,
Yeah.
you know. Above the Rim's amazing too, but I'd say Juice is probably his like at best, you know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe not in acting, but just in attitude. And he was kind of his career was really just starting to pop.
You believed him too. That Bishop character.
Yeah,
you
like
believed
Bishop
it.
was fucking crazy. Like,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. You know. All right, we'll go to the round where I name an artist and you tell me what you think of when you hear their name. Scum.
Scum, man, he's you know, Gore Hop, Godfather. He LSP is gonna be legendary in the underground. No, you'll never take away what they've done over 100 albums, you know what I mean? Like and you got IP and everybody, like that's just Smalls one, everyone on that label is just fire. So Scum is, you know, he's kind of a genius with that shit. And I've also, you know, met him at many shows and he's such a cool fucking down to earth dude. Like just is a joy to talk to as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's mad cool and interesting story, being from Russia and
Right.
I find that very fascinating. South Central Cartel, give him some love.
Man, I've said before, I think I said, and I'll stand by it in the roundtable we did, that Prodigy made some G-Funk beats that would rival Warren G or, you know, even some of Dre's G-Funk shit. They had like quintessential sounding West Coast music, especially gangsta shit on lock. Everything from, you know, And Gas We Trust to the Murder Squad Nationwide, which brought in so many, you know, Ice-T, Spice One, so many amazing West Coast artists. But then their own label, Shakilla, Young Money, and them from Young Murder Squad, which, you know, basically is why one of the groups I was in the early to mid 90s, Young Playa Squad, kind of came from fucking Young Murder Squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We love the How You Living. That whole album is amazing. Evil Scheme and all them. There's so many dope people in that camp. Shakilla is probably one of my favorite female rappers, you know, from the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't count Boss, because technically she came from like Houston and shit. But
right.
Yeah, no, that whole label was amazing. And I stand by damn near any release they put out.
Fushnikins.
I love Fushnikins because they were fun, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I usually was more into the more rugged shit, and they had some rugged tracks too, of course.
Right.
You know, every mid to early 90s artist had rugged ass just ghetto tracks, you know what I mean? But they were usually a lot more fun, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, I was a fan. I was never like a huge mark for them, but I was a fan.
We'll go back to the West Coast, the Booyah Tribe.
They had a sound all their own, especially in the time era that they were coming out in. And it was kind of like what I said with Farside. When Farside came out, it's just one of those groups that was so outside of what was popular at the time in that area that it kind of breathed life into music for me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more lyrical, you know. There's more straightforward and to the point, which I grew up listening to East Coast artists. That's kind of what I was used to, like Rakim
Right.
and Big L and all them. They were kind of just in your face, straight to it.
We're staying on the West. Spice One.
He's one of my favorites from the West Coast. I think America's Nightmare was definitely one of my favorite albums growing up. That's definitely high on my list of best albums ever.
Mm-hmm.
Born to Die from '96 from the Tales from the Hood movie is probably one of the best gangster songs literally ever written and recorded. And I was so happy he put out Haters Nightmare and put that on there as a bonus track, because that song is not easy to find. Like even on YouTube and shit, it's hard to find that song. So I've been streaming the fuck out of that album.
How about Hobson?
I fuck with Hop ever since Gazing at the Starlights. I think his first album on Ruthless.
Yeah, Ruthless. Yeah.
Like Pots and Pans, I think was the name of the first video he put out that I fucking loved it from the start. And then I saw all the Funk Volume shit, and I loved Swizz when he was rapping with Swizz. But yeah, Hop was dope. Raw is an amazing album. Fucking Pound Syndrome was a great album. If
Yeah.
you like listen to the whole album, it's pretty amazing.
You know, Raw's probably my favorite. It is my favorite of his, but he went from that to Knock Madness to Pound Syndrome. All three of them are just
Yeah, they're
fucking
all fire.
amazing. Yeah.
And his first album would have been so much more if Tamika Wright hadn't gotten her hands all wrapped up in it.
It's amazing how one person can fuck up something so great, right?
Yeah, exactly. His second album was amazing. It blew his
Oh.
first one out the water.
Right.
But Pots and Pans is probably always going to be the first song I think of.
Next, I got DJ Yella.
NWA, he's legendary. You know what I mean? And he put out some mixtapes. I think some compilations and shit.
Yeah, he did. After Easy died, he put one out. Yeah.
And he's Yella. You know what I mean? He was essential to the direction the group went in at the time. So he was essential in that whole boom because Eazy-E really, you know, he lit that fuse. That whole West Coast boom came from Eazy-E. If people are ever going to be real about West Coast music, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
This little like 4-foot guy that was just so angry and violent and aggressive. Like it kind of like his voice was needed, but Ice Cube writing it, of course, is what it was.
Right.
Ice Cube's a fucking poet though. So
How about Brother Lynch Hung?
Loaded is probably my favorite album from Brother Lynch Hung.
Ice-T's on that album.
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Loaded,
Yeah.
Loaded was the shift from like the really, you know, I'm eating every baby I see into the more like gangsta Sacramento Southern sound,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I like Loaded a lot. And I think Suicide Note or Suicide Letter or something's on there. That's one of my favorite songs.
All right, we'll go to Motown with Royce da 5'9".
I think Royce is another one that's highly underrated, but for some reason he argues with people. He's never
I
get where he
noticed
needs
that.
to be. You know what I mean? Shit, the album he did with M like re-sparked M for me because M had soured and kind of gotten stale by this point in his career. But that album, them together, was just electric again. And I remember buying the single with Scary Movie on it back before M even was a big name, just because there was like Two Hot Chicks on
Two
the
Hot
cover
Chicks,
or
yep.
something.
Yep.
And I was like 15, so it's like fuck yeah, you know. But Scary Movies was a great song, and
Hell yeah.
I'm the King was on there, and that song
Yep.
is fucking. That's a classic song. I think he tried too hard with Rock City and shit. Like he was trying to sound too commercial with his first album,
Right.
but he brought it back. He came back around, and I loved him. You know, I love Royce.
Yeah, so lyrical. And I have a soft spot for the Death is Certain album, just the vibe of it. I love the vibe of that album.
And he killed that shit. He did a track with Twisted on I think Abominations, and that was a great song.
Yes. Yeah, mad talented. All right. MC Hammer.
Well, he's MC Hammer. You know, he kind of pioneered that dance party rap, you know what I mean? He did what he did and he made a lot of money. I was never really a fan per se. But same with like Vanilla Ice, you're not really a fan of him when you're young. It's catchy.
It's everywhere. Right.
Yeah, you hear it literally everywhere. And then they both tried to do gangster rap, and I think MC Hammer got fucked up by like Suge Knight or something. But I don't really have a lot of thought about MC Hammer.
He did. It's called The Funky Headhunter, and then he dropped the MC, and it was just Hammer, and it was like gangster rap, and he made diss songs dissing like Redman and Run DMC and Q-Tip and all these people.
Hilarious.
It was very funny.
I mean, I've got Adam's Family Groove on vinyl from the Adam's Family soundtrack.
All right, we're going to the greatest MC to ever live, Ice-T.
I see. You know, Home Invasion, I think, was the first album I ever heard from him. Or Iceberg. Like what was that whole album? It had a longer title, like Freedom of Speech.
Ice Cream, Freedom of Speech. Just watch what you say.
Yeah, I love all that shit. OG, of course, is one of the most iconic rap albums, I think, from the West Coast. And Power has one of the most iconic covers for West Coast rap of all time. Right. And plus he's fucking great. He's great in SUV or Law and Order or whatever. You know, he makes that show interesting. So yeah, he's nice. I even like the shit he did. Like Seventh Sin or whatever he put out.
Seventh Deadly Sin. That was a good record. Yeah.
And then the last time he put out where he's like laying on bed with his wife.
Gangster rap.
That was all right.
It was all right.
It was still nice to hear a new Ice album.
And I always said if I win Powerball or some shit, I'm paying Ice whatever it takes to get a new Ice-T album, a focused one, like a new OG.
The old, yeah,
yeah,
that'd
old
be
school
awesome.
Ice. Next I got Insane Clown Posse.
They literally took something out of nothing and they grew something huge, like one of the most successful stories of any band in history, I'd say. You know what I mean? Because they literally kind of forced their way into what they have now. Of course, I don't really fuck with them as much now, but I was really into them when Malenko came out and I found out who they were. I've still got, I mean, there's hundreds of CDs up there between Psychopathic and MNE. I've got a huge collection of tapes and CDs from them, all the way up to the newest stuff, and I still collect because it still has that soft spot. You know what I mean? But I don't really open a lot of the newer stuff. I don't really listen to it like that. Yum Yum Bedlam I thought was really overrated. People loved it, and I just really didn't get down with it. There was like 3 songs maybe. I like Fred Fury better, and people hated that album. So it's like, who the fuck you trying to please? You know what I mean? But they pioneered, and half my fan base probably comes from their fan base. You know what I mean? So I'm always going to give them love. And playing at the Gathering when it was in Oklahoma was such a huge checklist item, like off my life type shit. You know what I mean? And then seeing them play at the Gathering, I was backstage because I was working there too. It was, you know, I'd seen them live a bunch, but seeing them live at the Gathering, it was just different. You know what I mean? That they did the whole Shangri-La record that year.
All right, we'll get off of ICP and we'll go to the Bald Head Invasion of Onyx.
Fucking Back the Fuck Up was a classic. And I remember the day that All We Got Is Us came out, and it felt like Christmas to me. I loved it. I loved Onyx so much back then. But Judgment Night, that shit they did with Biohazard was amazing. The Slam remix with Biohazard was fucking fun. Like, and I still listen to Onyx. They did all that shit with Snow Goons and shit recently in the last few years. I like shit, everything they put out pretty much. There was that small little section of like Back to Fuck Up Part 2 when it's like they forgot how to rap. But then they got it right back on track with the Snow Goons and shit, and they're fucking still ill.
Yeah, that Back to Fuck Up album is so classic.
Yeah, I love Fredro. I loved how gruff Fredro, like Sticky's aggressive, but he's almost like Silk the Shocker aggressive to me, where he's almost too much.
Yeah.
Fredro was just the right amount of like, I'll fucking bite your face type shit. You know what I mean?
Right. What you know about the Conscious Daughters?
I remember them. I had one of their albums. I don't remember the name of the album.
It would either been Ear to the Street or Gamers. They only had 2 albums.
I think it was Gamers.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Gamers. Yeah, I liked them. They weren't high up on my radar. Honestly, I really never gave a whole lot of female rap attention. You know, the Brat, when she first came out, of course, she kind of was different. But Yo-Yo and Boss, I mean, that might have been about it, really. Shaquilla, but she was kind of unheard of, you know. So I liked them. They were never like I probably would have listened to like HWA and shit more than I would have listened to Conscious Daughters.
Hoes with an attitude.
Yeah.
What about the Dayton family?
I liked them. Potato Chip Ass, and I remember a bunch of their old shit. I didn't really like the stuff they did on ICP's Hatchet House, like the charges of indictment and stuff. But like FBI is a classic. I love FBI.
Yeah, that Esham song, Play Haters.
Right. But I loved Bootleg. You know, there's a lot of good solo shit that came out of that family too.
Yeah.
Like Shoestring had some dope shit too.
Tretch from Naughty by Nature.
I love Naughty by Nature, and I love Tretch. You know, shit, I've got a bunch of their CDs too. The 96 album, like Poverty's Paradise, that was like probably my favorite album. Yeah, that's like my favorite album.
Yeah.
But I got the first one in 1993 too. Like I like them a lot. Definitely. And Tretch, he was way better than Benny always. You know, Tretch was kind of he was the front man for sure. And KG's just kind of his thing. But
how about Sir Mix-a-Lot?
Sir Mix-a-Lot's really underrated. Because people think about like Put 'Em on the Glass or Baby Got Back, but like he had 3 or 4 albums, and there was a lot of slammers on a lot of those albums that weren't those commercialized singles. Of course, you're not going to hear those on the radio, you know. But yeah, his first like 3 albums are great albums.
And lastly, I got Outcast.
I like Big Boy way more than I like Andre. So many people put Andre on the list of like best rappers
Right.
ever, and I'm always puzzled because I don't want to take anything away from him, but I just think about Hey Ya when I think about Andre. I know he's done a lot more than that, but
Yeah.
I always like Big Boy, like in the Southern Playalistic, the first album, Atlians, you know.
All right, that's what I got tonight. Plug your pluggables. Where can people get at you? What do you have coming out? The whole shebang.
All right. Well, right now I'm representing Fifth Power Entertainment. That's my home, my people's. I'm working on a brand new album that I actually haven't. This will be the first time I talk about it. I've been working on it for like 2 years undercover, and it's about to come out in July of this year. So this is the first time I'm kind of announcing that. It's got some killer features on there. Castro the Savage is coming out of retirement. He spit some shit for me, and I got some surprises I'm holding on to. One of them is Kingpin Skinny Pimp is on the album.
Nice.
It's a song that's got me, Creepy X, Ruthless Rob, Kingpin, and someone else on it. And that was done. It's produced by Strasdeem, who's one of Bizarre's producers. But yeah, it's showing some love and homage to Mystical for the album style. If you know the Unpredictable album, then the minute you see my album, This Is Me, you'll make connections.
Right.
Because I love that album. It's a very underrated album. I've been working on this album for 2 years. It's got my homie DJ Madman RK on it. He passed away last year. Unfortunately, I got the last 2 verses he ever did. And one of them is in this album. The other one I'm saving. Bane is on there from Shrunken Heads. I've got some pretty dope shit coming on this album. And me and Ruthless Rob just started working on our third Poe project, Prophets of Evil. I got another album I'm working on that is actually pretty much a horror. It's a horrorcore album called Behold the Pale Demon, which will be coming out probably next year. Our man Casket produced the whole album, and Casket is ridiculous. He just put out Psycho Slut Magnet on Fifth Power. I recommend, like, if you like old school, like aggressive Bedlam type horrorcore, you'll probably love Casket's album. Bracco's got a new album coming out called I Learned from the Beast. Chamber just started working on some new shit that I'm pretty excited about. I don't really do a lot of like me, you know what I mean? I'm very team oriented. Fifth Power is my family, and I've never had Raven Hunter as a name on a flyer when I'm going out live. It always says Fifth Power. The same with Bracco. You'll never see Bracco, even though that's his thing.
Right.
But we're a team, you know what I mean? We try to, if I'm going up, I'm bringing my brothers with me, you know what I mean? So yeah, we got a 66 Kills album coming out this Halloween. Hopefully, we try to do one like every Halloween or every other Halloween. That's like the super group, all the homies from the label. Nice. And then we end up getting like, we've had Insane Poetry on a few songs. You know, we've had Kilchin Empire Dirt on a few songs. Yeah, we do shit like that too. I'm hoping to get Scum and IP in a song soon. I got a lot of shit. I just did a song with Jade the Nightmare that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I know her. We did a song with her in 2016.
Fuck yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
She just cut a hook for the song I'm hoping to get Scum on. So that should be pretty dope. But yeah, I'm on, Facebook mainly because that's where most of the people I know are. Raven Hunter is my name, but Twitter and Instagram, Raven Hunter YPS for both of them. Instagram, I usually just don't really think about. I'm rarely ever on there, so it doesn't get updated very much. But officialfifthpower.com is where all the new releases and stuff are going to be coming out.
All right, stay in touch, and I'll for surely talk to you on the 4th of May.
Sounds good, bro. You be safe.
All right, take it easy. Peace.
You too, bro. Peace.
I'm a monster, I'm a problem. Lil God, I'm the demon, I'm a goblin. The pale one, he rises up from his slumber. The necromancer, all me, it's the hunter. Since 93, I put it down and I ain't stopping yet. OG, on the scene, salute the vet. The 29 years since the first tape drop. We came a long way from toting on that boombox. Anytime I come around, these bitches ask me if I'm down with this or that. Haven't heard of that, but I ain't even bumping that trash. What you want to do? You want to send a feature or two, but money talks you jiggling short. Guess I'm never hearing from you. Ha! Put me up against the best in the underground. A ripper striking back with sonic booms, you'll hear the sound. See the crowd wearing t-shirts with your name. skipped the rules and now you're fucked up, you done lost the game. No, you fucked up when you opened up that stupid mouth and talked a bunch of trash about shit you know and nothing about. It's Raven Hunter and I'm standing till my final day. A blazing phoenix rising tall and I'ma break my chains. I'm a monster, I'm a problem. Lil God, I'm the demon, I'm a goblin. The bad one, he rises up from his slumber. The necromancer on me, it's the hunter. Since 93 I put it down and I ain't stopping yet. OG on the scene, salute the vet. Been 29 years since the first tape drop. We came a long way from toting on that boom box. Hip hop non-stop, thankful that I never listened to all the people that was dissing and they always wishing that my downfall would come so swiftly. Big fuck you to the people pray against me. Checks up to the people ride with me. And all the rappers that I passed throughout my history. And all the people that pretended they was with me. I'm dropping flowers on your whole discography. Cause I'm shitting on these bitches like I'm Amber Heard. And if you haven't heard, the hunter has returned. And I will give my word until my dying day. Truly yours, you got the album, now just let it play. I'm a monster, I'm a problem. Lil God, I'm the demon, I'm a goblin. The bad one, he rises up from his slumber.